Music by the Cool.
Hello, and welcome to Yes, That's My Kid podcast. I'm Asia, and today we have our co-host Anthony, and behind the scenes, our producer Jacob. If this is your first time listening to Yes, That's My Kid podcast, know that we are going to talk about some bold, transparent, and authentic conversations centered on parenting, childhood development, and the nuances of raising our mixed children. One thing we are not here for is advice. We're not licensed therapists, psychiatrists, doctor, medical, or academic, none of that. We are simply here to share our stories and express our opinions. So if you like what you hear, please like, comment, subscribe, and share.
And if you don't like what you hear, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share. So you rubbing off on me.
I know.
So just do all that, even if you don't like it. Just do it anyway.
Please. And check us out on Instagram. Yes, that's my kid.
Yes. And all streaming services, Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
So, Asia, let's kick this off. How are you today?
I am well. I am good today.
Good.
This week has been a long week. It's a busy season for me right now, but I had fun today.
Yeah.
I ended work a little early and caught up on. Well, we didn't catch up on, but watched an episode of Euphoria. And Autumn and I went out to Target.
Hey.
And I don't know. I say every time we leave the house, I say we're going on a little adventure. And I think it was kind of different today because typically when we go out in public, doesn't really matter what store we go into. Autumn is, she's not the friendliest. Like people would be like, oh my gosh, she's so cute. Hi. And she would just stare at you like deadpan, like, hi who? Like, who are you saying hi to? But today she was like, she started conversations with people. I mean, granted, not actual words, but she was like yapping away and people were like, oh my gosh, she's so fun and talkative. And she was saying bye to people when we were like moving away from them. So I think she had a lot of fun. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. And I'm glad it's just showing me that she's growing and having more personality and becoming more open to other people, other faces, and just going out into the world and enjoying it. So that makes me happy.
That's what's up.
Yeah. What about yourself?
So my week was great. We dropped our podcast. So whenever this airs, this will probably be in a couple weeks or something like that. But our podcast dropped. We've gotten great reception from it. Episode 1 and 2 are up. By the time you get this, episode 3 and 4 will be up as well. So I think collectively that'll put us at like technically 6 episodes because we got the Y TMK and then we also have the intro. So that was like that kept me on a high all week. Got a job offer for another position, so I'm happy about that.
Yes, congrats.
I appreciate it. So my week's been great. Kids are great. My daughter had a test. She did really good on it, as expected.
Of course.
And my little man's, it's crazy because he took like a big jump in like capabilities. Because he went from like not crawling much to literally crawling like everywhere in a week and almost standing up.
Wow.
So he just like takes these major jumps in progression, which is great.
Yeah. But is he like above the curve on the growth chart?
Oh yeah, for sure. He's been at 99% in weight and height.
He's a big one.
Not even since he was born. I'll say like 2 weeks after he was born, he's been in the 99 percentile for weight and height.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a big boy, and he gets busy.
Yeah.
So that's been a good thing. So Asia, we're gonna name this episode why it's something to the effect of why our kids don't celebrate Black History Month. So we had some discussion about this before, before we press record.
Yes.
So I'd like your take specifically on why we're not going to have our kids celebrate Black History Month.
Yes. So when we say we don't celebrate Black History Month, or our children won't celebrate Black History Month, I don't even think that's a wild take, because honestly, I don't think Black people or even people in general do anything significant to celebrate it. So I think in ways when we say celebrate Black History Month, what we typically see in corporate space and schools are people sharing quotes and saying like, talking about our typical, our well-known leaders. So Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, Harriet Tubman, we hear about the same figures over and over. And what I find, I don't think that's a celebration. Two, I think that the figures that are known and that people tend to gravitate towards every single year are in a way centered in pain. And not to say that we should not talk about that, we should, but I believe that there's more to Black people than slavery and the civil rights movement. Those are important things in our history, in American history, period. But there's so much more to us than pain. And so when we say we're not going to celebrate it, we're not going to focus on what is typically talked about during this time. That's one reason. And secondly, in this household, we focus on Blackness and Black culture every day. It's literally a year-round thing for us. And how we are incorporating that at this moment with my 1-year-old child, we read books to her daily. When we ask for gifts, we don't ask for toys. One, because I just don't want a whole bunch of like shit all over the floor. I don't want to have to clean it up. It's already a mess up there. So we don't ask for gifts. We typically ask for clothes because children grow, at exponential rates. And we ask for books about Black figures and about Black characters, fictional characters as well. And more importantly, we ask for books by Black authors. We think that's important, an important way to celebrate like Black people, period. Like for us to tell our stories, I think is something special and not just always relying on someone else to kind of share our stories. So one thing, one of the books that we have two books that I think we tend to read often. One is Little Leaders. We have like the male and female version. Right? So it's like
you got
really
that
cool.
from Target.
Yeah, well, we didn't purchase it. We got it as a gift, but they probably got it from Target.
Yeah, I've seen that joint.
Yeah, but Little Leaders focuses on people of the past.
So going back to why we don't necessarily celebrate Black History Month, I think a couple of points too is one, we think that it is primarily for other people, right? It's primarily for other races to become, and I say other races because that's what I'm going with. Primarily for other races to become aware of the contributions of Black people and whatnot. So in our household, in my household as well, we do not relegate it to 1 month. We have Black history. It's Black life, right? It's a Black experience. It's our life. So that is Black history. It's Black. It's whatever we talk about. Throughout the year, I talk about Madam C.J. Walker, Massa Musa, Lewis Lattimore. Like those are just figures that we talk about throughout the year. So it's not relegated to 1 month. So that's why that's primarily why we don't celebrate. We acknowledge the month and we send memes out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we don't say, all right, honey, it's Black History Month. Now let's go get our textbooks. That's just that's
but
not what
also
we do.
What you just said, I think that's what Black History Month has been reduced to.
So diving a little bit deeper, because this is a parenting podcast, diving deeper, going into what you mentioned about potentially creating a complex and becoming aware enough to notice that is a potential. What do you think about, and this is going to be different for both you and I, because you're married to a white man and I'm married to a Hispanic woman. How do you handle, or how do you plan on handling balancing and discussing both sides of your daughter's culture, right? So it's obviously going to be her Black side, and there's going to be her white side.
And Jamaican.
Balance it? Jamaican. I'd say Black. Yeah, Black Jamaican.
I understand.
I didn't want to say African American because I'm like,
no, I say Black. I really don't ever say African American, but I am also Jamaican, and that I do want to make sure my daughter is aware of and celebrate.
How do you and your husband plan on kind of balancing that aspect of talking about the Black side and the white side?
Right. So the focus for me, and I think my husband would agree, but he can always speak for himself. The focus for this household is not to focus on white. And when I say that, I'm just saying like over encompassing like complexion white, but we do celebrate culture and tradition. So my husband is Polish, right, from his mom's side. And that's what we focus on. Like your heritage, he's Polish, and Easter is pretty big in their culture. So is Christmas Eve. And every single year since I've been with him, we have celebrated that. We have been together as a family.
Hold on one second. I think that's a great distinction that you maybe want to just be clear on. Because when I first heard it, you said white, but then you said Polish. I'm going to make sure everybody's clear on that. It's like you're not focusing necessarily on, you're taking it deeper than just like black and white. You're taking it really, really straight to the components that make up the person.
Right.
So you're talking about the cultural components. So he's Polish, and what else?
Mix of other things that what's strong, and he's a redhead if you look at him, so people tend to think he's Irish, but we actually did like ancestry DNA, 23andMe, and I might get this wrong, and he's gonna be like, "You wrong," but I think it was more so German, and less of Irish, I think. But I'm pretty sure that's coming from his dad's side. But from like as long as I've been with him, we haven't actually done much with his father's side of the family. It doesn't seem like they hold too many I guess customary traditions or anything. Like I've seen with them, I hang with them, they're cool, and I'm not trying to say like they don't do anything as a family, they do. So I just want to be clear on that. And we celebrate like weddings and stuff, typical I guess American things we've done with them. But as far as being specific to certain culture on the other side of the world, we haven't done so much with his father's side. But with his mother's side, they are very proud of their Polish heritage, and so we definitely celebrate and do things for the special holidays.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So you're focusing, and I just want to reiterate for everybody, you're focusing on the cultural components that actually make that your daughter is comprised of.
Right.
Versus, and so I think that's another clear distinction that has to be made, right? So what you said earlier was like, generally people focus on like the slavery or the civil rights and the pain of things.
Yes.
But I think that's also because that is the history of Black people in America specifically, and that really is. Aside from the positive things, that's the mind. That's what comes to the mind when you think about Black people in the history. Black history in America, right?
Right. Which is what I'm trying to change in this household. I don't want my daughter to just only know that.
Yes, 100%. And I agree with you, and we'll touch base on that too. But going to your point in terms of bringing, teaching your daughter about her actual culture, right? That's deeper than where that's origin versus versus where a time frame in history in which they because you could talk about Polish people when they settled in America. That's not what you're talking about. You're talking about Polish as a culture, right?
So I'm talking about being, yes, to your point, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but also just being proud of that as well. So I want her to be proud of both sides, of all sides.
For sure. But that's what I'm saying. Yes, and I agree with that 100%. But when I'm saying you're focused fully on the culture, right? A part of that culture is going to be when they settled and came over to America, because there was an influx of that as well. But the culture and the origin of his Polish heritage, right? As well as the culture and the origin of African and or Jamaican heritage. There's so much about your Jamaican heritage in Jamaica that's amazing that we don't know about and stuff, and that doesn't, that's I'm not going to say completely delineated again, separated from African American history, which is, the 500 years that we've been in America.
Right.
But there's an entire library of things with that specific culture. So I appreciate that, and I think that is important and something that we definitely made conscious of within my extended family, meaning my sisters and everything. Reality wise, we rarely ever talk slavery, civil rights. I'm educated in it, obviously, but rarely do we ever bring it up. Do we talk about it? Because I feel as though that is it's so banged into your head. It puts a automatic, to a degree, like we talked about before, something like a weight on your shoulders, but also kind of a ceiling to a degree. And it puts you in just like a negative space, in the sense of, prior to me, there wasn't as much happening. Like there wasn't that many great things going on in terms of positivity.
Yeah, I like what you said about distilling, because I do believe it also can be limiting. But another aspect to think about is traumatizing. And I don't think enough people focus on that.
One of the things that I'm trying to figure out as a parent is when is a good time to talk to my daughter about those types of things, because it's like for the same reasons that I expressed before and as you, I don't really want to bring those things up, even though it's a reality. I kind of like put it in there periodically, not about slavery, but about some differences and whatnot. But I just don't want her to have a just like a constraint on her from a mental standpoint. So that's definitely
a balance.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. And then it's like you don't know when too early is too early. So one of the things is like recently she was learning about like Theodore Roosevelt, and she was just, they learned about it in school, typical like how we did. But I asked her, like, just like I asked her about all her other schoolwork, is like, what they tell you about him exactly? You know what I'm saying? Because it's super important. So an example is my cousin not even back in the day, a few years ago, the school had his daughter write about Ulysses S. Grant, right? That was the assignment, write about Ulysses S. Grant and how great he was. And my cousin and his wife called up the school like, you kidding me, right? You want my Black and Hispanic daughter to write about how great the slave owner was?
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like I don't know, you just have to be aware of everything. And then it's like at those points, you're kind of forced to talk about it and tell them, like, I'm gonna be honest with you, he wasn't great for you. He was great in aspects, but not for you. You know what I'm saying? So it's like just that tough conversation that's tough, Can
I ask you, do you think that, because I know we want to focus on the children, but focus on the children, we also have to focus on ourselves as parents to be better for our children. So do you think that this is a learning opportunity for yourself? Like, that's how I kind of look at it. I don't know everything about everything, right? I sometimes when I read these books, I'll be like, I never heard of that person. Right? Like there are new people, or they're not new, but there are people who've done great things, Black people who've done great things in this world, contributed to like great success in this world that I've never ever heard of. And I think it's kind of fun. Yeah. Like, since we read these books to her and we're teaching her, but we're also teaching ourselves. And I think that's amazing to continue to learn about who we are as a people.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with that 100%. I mean, adjacent to that, I learned about more American history because my daughter's learning American history at school. So honestly, there's like preconceived notions that I have about certain people, and I look it up, I'm like, oh wow, they were actually not that bad. Like they I should say at one point in their life they were bad for us, but then they developed and they might have learned or expanded their mindset and actually became beneficial for us during that time, right? So it made me just learn more about American history, your typical American history, obviously Black history, American history, but you know what I mean. But yeah, no, I agree with you in terms of having to understand more of our history as well, for sure. Another thing, though, going back to what you're talking about your culture, about your husband culture, and expanding in that, is that I find it difficult. Not difficult. It's something I just have to be very much so aware, conscious, whatever word you want to use, synonym. I don't got a word in front of me. Microsoft Word, I'll just put synonym and figure out another word. Of the fact that, like I said before, my daughter is 100% Black, but she's also 100% Hispanic. So up to this point, I definitely feel like I've been immersing her in black culture and stuff like that. But I also don't want to get away from the fact that she is Hispanic. Like I said, 100% Black, 100% Hispanic. She's got 100% me, she's got 100% her mother.
Right. And do you sorry to cut you off in your train of thought. Do you tell her that she's an Afro-Latina? Like, what words do you use? Okay.
Yeah, I do tell her she's Afro-Latina. But honestly, I just started using that term recently.
Okay.
But I usually just tell her, you're African American and you're Nicaraguan.
Okay.
And
I like that you're specific and say exactly what she is, because you know Hispanic is it's just a generic word, I guess, you know, for a whole bunch of different type of people.
Right. Yeah. No, I tell her daddy's African American, mommy's Nicaraguan. I am actively trying to learn more about like the Nicaraguan culture and that aspect of my daughter's makeup, because it is just as important
of course
as her African American side. It's
so what do you guys do to get that into the household, that culture into the household?
I mean, really reality based. When we were like living in Connecticut, she spent more time with her Nicaraguan family, like her Nicaraguan cousins and aunt and titis and all that stuff. So that was
accent.
So that was her way of like getting indulged into that, and obviously they made all the food and stuff like that. But in terms of like actually educating her on it, I don't think we do a good job, really. It's something that we, like I said, we have to work on.
But you're
and
aware
do better.
of it, yeah.
Yeah, and yes, for sure. Or what's the dynamic between your in-law family when it comes to Black History Month and you or your daughter or daughter? How do you think, because your daughter's only one, how do you think that will be going forward? Do you have you thought about that at all?
I actually haven't, no. Because so I don't think that I have a strained relationship with my in-laws. I wouldn't say that, but I don't think I'm super close with my in-laws. Michael's mom, my mother-in-law, she comes over. Well, she used to at one point come over once a week, but now she, I don't know, maybe perhaps it seems like once a month. And we don't really get into deep discussions, like maybe once. I think I could think of one time where we actually had deep discussions about anything, about my experience, about disparities in our cultures. So I don't really know if anything's going to happen as far as like them trying to make sure they acknowledge like Black History Month. I know that at times, especially like in 2020, when everybody was like, oh, teach me, there was a moment of being more aware and trying to learn, active learning. I will say that was happening. But as far as everyday life, I don't really see too much there. And I'm not saying that there isn't room to grow. I'm not saying that when she's older, like that won't happen. Perhaps it's because she's so young.
Yeah, that's all. I get it.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, it's a tough question, and it's also it's such a hypothetical question to think about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's nothing concrete to define and say it's going toward. It's just nothing there really.
Yeah.
So no.
And then I feel like if they see this and they watch that, they're gonna be like, take it now. We're gonna make sure this happens.
That's
Which is fine with me.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna go into our dad joke, and let's do it. So
yes,
why did the father go back to the bank?
Why did the father go back to the bank?
Yeah,
because he forgot his sperm. That's not a kid joke. I'm so sorry. That's not a kid joke. I was just thinking sperm bank. I'm so sorry.
I don't know. I'm not sure what to do with this. I'm truly not sure what to do with this.
I'm so sorry.
No, Asia, that's not the answer. It's something
I am
so much more PG rated.
Okay.
He went to get his quarterback. It's like a
football. Yeah, I got it. Wow, mine was so much more funny.
Yours is so much more descriptive.
Mine was so good. Woo.
I'm not gonna lie, your answers be all right. I'm not even sure how that went. He went to get a sperm pack
because it's a sperm bank.
I get it. Yeah, and it's a dad. I get it. All right, that makes sense. I get it.
Ooh, I am killing this.
I'm not telling my kids that joke.
Well, no, I guess it's not really a dad joke. It's an adult dad joke.
Yeah. There's
can you have those? I think you can have those.
Yeah, for sure. You got a good one last time. But all right, everybody. This is Yes, That's My Kid podcast. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment.
Please.
All All right.
We would appreciate it.
I swear. Peace.
Bye.